Welcome to the world of science fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Enjoy the listening. Dexter Hawkins jolted awake as the Starlight Dream lurched violently. Warning klaxons blared through the luxury cruiser. He stumbled out of his cramped engineering quarters, nearly colliding with a panicked Thruxian stewardess rushing past. "What's happening?" Dexter shouted, but she was already gone. The ship shuddered again. Through a viewport, Dexter glimpsed a swirling anomaly engulfing the starship. His stomach dropped as the Starlight Dream plummeted toward an alien world below. Dexter sprinted for the nearest escape pod, but the corridor twisted, flinging him against the wall. As the ship broke apart around him, his last thought before losing consciousness was regret at taking this job. He awoke to the acrid stench of burning synthetics. Dexter's head throbbed as he pushed debris off his chest, coughing in the smoke-filled air. Daylight filtered through gaps in the wreckage. He was alive somehow. Dexter crawled out of the twisted metal, blinking in the harsh sunlight of an alien world. The shattered remains of the Starlight Dream lay scattered across a barren landscape. In the distance, craggy mountains loomed beneath unfamiliar constellations. "Hello?" Dexter called out. "Anyone there?" A groan answered nearby. Dexter scrambled over a pile of luggage to find a Centaurian woman pinned beneath a fallen bulkhead. Her iridescent skin shimmered as she struggled weakly. "Hold on, I've got you," Dexter said, wedging his shoulder under the debris. With a grunt of effort, he lifted just enough for the alien to pull free. "Thank you," she gasped, rubbing her bruised limbs. "I am Lumina." "Dexter, are you hurt?" Lumina shook her head. "Nothing serious. But the others?" They searched the wreckage, calling out for survivors. One by one, dazed passengers emerged. All female, Dexter realized. The Starlight Dream had been a women-only pleasure cruise. As an engineer, he'd been one of the few men aboard. By sundown, they'd gathered 20 survivors from a dozen different species. Dexter was the only human, and the only male. He tried not to stare at the assemblage of exotic beauties surrounding him, each alien woman more stunning than the last. A statuesque woman with 4 arms approached. Her segmented exoskeleton gleamed metallic blue in the fading light. "I am Security Chief Niox," she said, voice tinged with suspicion. "You are crew." Dexter nodded. "Engineering. What's our situation?" Niox's mandibles clicked in agitation. "Bad. No distress beacon. No supplies. Hostile environment." On cue, an unearthly howl echoed from the nearby hills. Several women shrieked in alarm. "We need shelter," Dexter said, "and a defensive position. Those mountains look promising." Niox studied him. "You have survival training?" "2 tours with the Terran Marines before going civilian. I can handle myself." The security chief's antennae twitched as she considered. Finally, she nodded. "Very well. Lead on, engineer." Dexter organized the group to salvage what they could from the wreck. They gathered scattered luggage and pulled emergency supplies from the intact sections of the ship. An azure-skinned beauty with striking violet eyes proved especially helpful, anticipating Dexter's needs before he voiced them. "Salivia," she introduced herself with a coy smile. "I'm a telepath." Dexter's eyes widened. "You can read my mind?" Salivia laughed, a musical sound. "Surface thoughts only, don't worry. But they're quite interesting." Dexter felt his face flush. He quickly changed the subject. "We should get moving before nightfall." They made their way toward the mountains as twin moons rose in the alien sky. The group struggled over the difficult terrain, unused to such physical exertion. Dexter and Niox took turns carrying those who faltered. When they finally reached the foothills, Dexter located a defensible cave entrance. "We'll rest here for the night," he announced. "Tomorrow, we'll explore further and set up a proper camp." The alien women collapsed in exhaustion. Dexter tried to hide his own fatigue as he organized watches with Niox. The security chief regarded him with grudging respect. "You've proven capable," she said, "but do not think this makes you our leader." Dexter raised his hands. Wouldn't dream of it. We're all in this together. As the others settled into sleep, Sylvia approached Dexter. May I speak with you privately? He followed her a short distance from the cave. In the moonlight, her azure skin seemed to glow. Dexter swallowed hard. I sense your attraction, Sylvia said softly, and your guilt over it. You needn't feel ashamed. I'm just trying to keep everyone alive, Dexter said. Anything else would be unprofessional. Sylvia stepped closer. We may be stranded here indefinitely. Social norms no longer apply. Her hand brushed his arm. Besides, I find your mind ... intriguing. Dexter's pulse quickened. Sylvia, A blood-curdling screech split the night. They whirled to see a monstrous shape silhouetted against the moons. Bat-like wings spread wider than a shuttle as the creature dove toward the cave. Everyone inside! Dexter yelled, shoving Sylvia ahead of him. They barely made it as massive talons raked the ground where they'd stood moments before. Panic erupted among the survivors as the beast slammed against the cave entrance. Dexter grabbed a length of pipe from their salvage pile. "Niox, with me!" he shouted. The security chief was already in motion, her exoskeleton expanding to cover vulnerable flesh. They met the creature's next attack head-on. Dexter swung his makeshift club while Niox grappled with razor-sharp claws. Up close, Dexter saw a nightmarish mix of reptile and insect features on the beast's elongated head. His pipe connected with a meaty thud and the monster reeled back. Niox pressed the advantage, her enhanced strength driving it further from the cave. With a final shriek of frustration, the creature took flight and vanished into the night. Breathing heavily, Dexter turned to the huddled group of aliens. Everyone okay? Lumina's luminescent skin pulsed with fear, but she nodded. Thanks to you. The others murmured agreement. Dexter saw a new respect in their eyes, and something else that made him uncomfortable. That was merely the first challenge, Niox cautioned. We must be prepared for worse. Dexter nodded grimly. Agreed. First thing tomorrow, we start fortifying this position and gathering resources. It's going to be a long haul. As the adrenaline faded, exhaustion hit Dexter like a hammer blow. He slumped against the cave wall, mind reeling. Stranded on an alien world, sole protector for a group of helpless and distractingly attractive alien women. It was like something out of a sleazy hollow novel. Get it together, Hawkins, he chided himself. Lives depend on you. A gentle touch on his arm startled him. Sylvia smiled apologetically. Sorry, I thought you could use this. She handed him a ration bar salvaged from the ship. Thanks, Dexter said around a mouthful of bland protein. You should rest. Big day tomorrow. Sylvia's violet eyes locked onto his. I feel safer near you, she said softly. Dexter's pulse quickened again. Sylvia. She leaned in, lips parting invitingly. Dexter knew he should pull away, but after the stress and terror of the day, the promise of comfort proved too strong. Their kiss was urgent, passionate. Sylvia's cool skin felt electric against his. Dexter lost himself in the moment, all thoughts of propriety forgotten. When they finally parted, both breathless, reality came crashing back. Dexter saw other women watching with mixed expressions: jealousy, intrigue, disapproval. I'm sorry, he said, stepping back. That was inappropriate. I should... Sylvia placed a finger on his lips. Hush. What's done is done, and I, for one, do not regret it. She sauntered back to her sleeping spot, leaving Dexter to sort through a whirlwind of emotions. What had he gotten himself into? The next morning dawned harsh and unforgiving. Dexter roused the group early, ignoring his own exhaustion and the curious looks from the alien women. All right, listen up, he announced. We've got 3 priorities: water, food, and shelter. Niox and I will lead search parties. The rest of you start setting up camp here. Questions? A willowy Aldebaranian with feathered hair raised a delicate hand. What about rescue? Surely someone will come looking for us. Dexter sighed. The Starlight Dream was off any major shipping lanes. Add in whatever anomaly brought us here. We have to assume we're on our own for now. Worried murmurs rippled through the group. Dexter locked eyes with each woman in turn. I know you're scared. Hell, I'm terrified. But we will survive this. Together. Now let's get to work. As the day wore on, Dexter's respect for his alien companions grew. Despite their lack of survival skills, they tackled each task with determination. Even the haughty Arcturian Duchess pitched in without complaint. Niox proved an invaluable second-in-command, her military background complementing Dexter's. By midday, they'd fortified the cave entrance and established a clean water source from a nearby spring. Food remained a challenge. What plants were edible? What animals could they safely hunt? Trial and error seemed a risky proposition. Salvation came from an unexpected source. Lumina's bioluminescent skin, it turned out, allowed her to sense chemical compositions. She quickly identified which local flora was poisonous and which was safe. Remarkable, Dexter said as she demonstrated her ability. That could be a lifesaver. Lumina preened at the praise, her skin pulsing brighter. I'm happy to help. Perhaps later you could show your appreciation more directly? Dexter coughed awkwardly. Let's focus on the task at hand. He turned away, only to find himself face to face with Sylvia. The telepath's expression was unreadable. Your thoughts are quite loud today, she said. Dexter winced. Sorry, it's been a stressful morning. Sylvia's lips quirked. Among other things, but do not worry. Your secrets are safe with me. She glanced at Lumina. Though perhaps not secret for long, Before Dexter could respond, a commotion erupted from the camp. They rushed back to find two women squaring off, Niox and a crimson-skinned Betelgeusian. I will not be ordered about by some exoskeleton-encased insectoid, the Betelgeusian snarled. Niox's antennae quivered with rage. You will follow the chain of command or face the consequences. Enough, Dexter bellowed, inserting himself between them. We don't have time for this nonsense. Niox, report. The security chief's mandibles clicked in agitation. This one refuses to perform her assigned duties. She claims such labor is beneath her station. Dexter turned to the Betelgeusian, whose name he recalled was Zira. Is this true? Zira drew herself up haughtily. I'm a renowned entertainer, not some common laborer. I will not debase myself with menial tasks. I see, Dexter said evenly. And what exactly do you plan to eat? Where will you sleep? Zira faltered. Well, I assumed. You assumed others would provide for you, Dexter finished. Let me be clear. Everyone pulls their weight here, no exceptions. You don't work, you don't eat. Simple as that. The Betelgeusian's crimson skin darkened further. For a moment, Dexter thought she might strike him. Then her shoulders slumped. Very well, she said sullenly. What would you have me do? Crisis averted, Dexter turned his attention back to camp organization. But he couldn't shake a feeling of unease. How long before the next conflict erupted? And how many more could he diffuse before everything fell apart? As the alien sun sank toward the horizon, Dexter allowed himself a moment of quiet reflection. They'd accomplished much in one day, but the challenges ahead remained daunting. He tried not to dwell on the enormity of their situation, or the complications arising from being the only male among 20 exotic, attractive alien women. One day at a time, he told himself. Focus on survival first. The rest. Well, he'd cross that bridge when he came to it. Little did Dexter know that bridge was approaching faster than he could have imagined. As weeks turned into months, the harsh alien landscape of Zeta 5 slowly became home to the stranded survivors. Dexter watched with pride as their ramshackle camp evolved into a functioning settlement. The cave system they'd initially sheltered in now boasted crude but effective furnishings, with separate living quarters carved out for privacy. Dexter wiped sweat from his brow, pausing in his work on the camp's expanding irrigation system. The dual suns of Zeta 5 beat down mercilessly, their rays seeming to intensify with each passing day. He'd long since abandoned his tattered uniform shirt, his once pale skin now deeply tanned and weathered. "You've been at it for hours," came Sylvia's melodic voice. The azure-skinned telepath approached, offering a container of water. "Your thoughts are a jumble of measurements and calculations. Take a break." Dexter accepted the water gratefully. "Thanks. I think we're close to solving our crop yield problem. If we can just—" Sylvia pressed a cool finger to his lips. "Hush. You don't need to impress me with your cleverness, Dexter. I can read your mind, remember." He grinned sheepishly. "Right. Sometimes I forget." "Oh? And what about when you're with Lumina or Neox? Do you forget then, too?" There was a hint of challenge in Sylvia's tone. Dexter's smile faltered. "Sylvia, She waved a hand dismissively. "No need to explain. I told you before I don't begrudge you seeking comfort where you can find it. These are unusual circumstances." Before Dexter could respond, a commotion near the camp's entrance drew their attention. Niox's commanding voice rang out, calling for Dexter. They hurried over to find the security chief restraining a furious Zira. The Betelgeusian's crimson skin was flushed in even deeper scarlet, her eyes flashing with rage. "What's going on?" Dexter demanded. Niox's mandibles clicked in agitation. "I caught this one trying to hoard supplies. She claims she's eating for two now." Dexter's eyes widened as he took in Zira's slightly rounded midsection. "You're pregnant?" Zira wrenched herself free from Niox's grasp. "Yes, you idiot. And whose fault is that?" A hush fell over the gathered crowd. Dexter felt the weight of every alien gaze upon him. He took a deep breath, forcing his voice to remain steady. "All right, let's discuss this privately. Niox, Sylvia, with me please. Zira, if you join us." As they retreated to Dexter's quarters, he could hear the whispers erupting behind them. This was going to complicate things. Inside, Zira rounded on Dexter. "Well, what do you have to say for yourself?" He held up his hands placatingly. "First, are you certain? How far along?" "About 2 months by my people's reckoning," Zira said, her anger seeming to deflate slightly. "And yes, I'm certain. Betelgeusian females are quite aware when conception occurs." Dexter nodded, mind racing. "Okay, we'll need to adjust your duties, make sure you're getting proper nutrition. Niox, can you—" "That's it?" Zira interrupted. "You knock me up and all you care about is camp logistics? What do you want from me, Zira?" Dexter snapped, his own frustration boiling over. "An apology? A marriage proposal? We're stranded on an alien world fighting for survival every day. I'm doing the best I can to keep us all alive." Sylvia laid a calming hand on his arm. "Perhaps we all need to take a step back," she said soothingly. "This news affects the entire group. We should approach it rationally." Niox's antennae twitched in agreement. The telepath is right. We must consider the long-term implications. If one female is with child, others may follow. As if on cue, a timid voice spoke up from the entrance. About that." They turned to see Lumina hovering nervously in the doorway, her luminescent skin pulsing with anxiety. I think I might be pregnant too." Dexter collapsed into a chair, head in his hands. "Fantastic," he muttered. "Anyone else want to drop a bombshell while we're at it?" Sylvia's musical laugh cut through the tension. "Oh, Dexter, did you really think you could bed half the camp without consequences?" He glared at her, not helping Sylvia. "On the contrary," Niox interjected, "this development may be precisely what our colony needs." Dexter looked up sharply. "Colony? We're not— This isn't it?" the security chief pressed. "We've been here nearly half a standard year. No sign of rescue. We're establishing agriculture, permanent structures. And now it seems the next generation." A heavy silence fell as her words sank in. Dexter's mind whirled with implications. She was right, of course. They'd stopped being castaways a long time ago. Okay, he said finally. Okay, you're right. But this changes things. We need to have a community meeting, lay everything out in the open. No more secrets, no more sneaking around. Agreed? The others nodded solemnly. As they filed out to gather the rest of the group, Sylvia lingered behind. This isn't your fault, she said softly. We all made our choices. Dexter managed a weak smile. Thanks. I just hope the others see it that way. The meeting that followed was tense, emotional, and occasionally volatile. Dexter laid out the situation plainly, confirming Zira and Lumina's pregnancies and acknowledging his role. He braced for recriminations, but the response surprised him. Well, it's about time, exclaimed Thara, an Andromedan with shimmering, scale-like skin. Some of us were starting to worry you didn't find us attractive. A ripple of laughter spread through the group, dispelling some of the tension. Dexter felt a weight lift from his shoulders. So, you're not angry? He asked cautiously. Nyack stepped forward. Angry? Dexter, you've kept us alive, led us, protected us, and now you offer the promise of a future for our people. Why would we be angry? Murmurs of agreement echoed through the cave. Dexter was speechless. Don't let it go to your head, Zira grumbled, but there was a hint of amusement in her tone. You've still got a lot of work to do, colony leader. The meeting evolved into a spirited discussion of their future. Plans were made, roles reassigned to accommodate the pregnancies. By the time they adjourned, a new sense of purpose filled the air. As the others dispersed, Sylvia approached Dexter. Well, that went better than expected, she said with a smirk. He chuckled. No kidding. I thought they were going to throw me to whatever passes for wolves on this planet. Sylvia's expression grew serious. They respect you, Dexter. More than that, we care for you. But don't think this means you can slack off. If anything, they'll expect even more from you now. No pressure, Dexter muttered. Speaking of which, is there something you want to tell me? You've been awfully quiet about personal matters. The telepath's violet eyes sparkled with mischief. Now, where would the fun be in revealing all my secrets? Don't worry, I'll let you know if anything changes. For now, let's focus on our more immediate concerns. Over the next few months, the camp, now officially dubbed New Hope Colony in a moment of optimism, underwent a transformation. Dexter threw himself into preparations for the coming infants, designing crude but functional cradles and child-proofing their living spaces as best he could. Zira's pregnancy progressed rapidly, her crimson skin taking on an almost ethereal glow. Despite her initial hostility, she grudgingly accepted Dexter's attentions, even allowing him to feel the baby's first kicks. Lumina's condition manifested in spectacular fashion, her bioluminescence fluctuating wildly with her moods. More than once, Dexter was awakened in the middle of the night by a distressed, fully illuminated Lumina craving some impossible earth delicacy. As Dexter juggled the needs of two expectant mothers and the not-so-subtle advances of several other alien women, a new challenge arose. During a routine foraging expedition, Thera stumbled upon the ruins of an ancient structure half buried in the sand. It's incredible, she reported breathlessly. Like nothing I've ever seen. The technology, it's beyond anything in known space. Dexter organized an exploration team immediately. What they found exceeded his wildest expectations. The ruins were vast, stretching for kilometers underground. Strange symbols adorned the walls, pulsing with a faint energy. Can you make anything of it? He asked Sylvia, hoping her telepathic abilities might offer insight. She shook her head, frustration evident. It's like static, white noise. Whatever civilization built this, their minds worked very differently from ours. Over the following weeks, Dexter split his time between caring for the pregnant women and delving into the mysteries of the ruins. They discovered artifacts of immense power, devices that could purify water instantly, generate fields of breathable atmosphere, even manipulate gravity itself. With this technology, we could transform the entire planet, Niox marveled, create a true home for ourselves and our descendants. Dexter nodded, his mind racing with possibilities. But we need to be careful. We don't know what happened to the beings who built all this. Why did they disappear? What if... His words were cut off by a piercing scream echoing through the colony. Zira. They raced back to find the Betelgeusian woman doubled over in pain, her crimson skin mottled with exertion. "The baby!" she gasped. "It's coming!" Dexter felt a surge of panic. Despite all their preparations, the reality of delivering an alien child on an unknown world struck him full force. He took a deep breath, steadying himself. "Okay, let's do this," he said, surprised at the calm in his voice. "Sylvia, I need you to link with Zira, help manage her pain. Niox, sterilize the medical supplies we scavenged. Lumina, your bioluminescence could help us see better. I need you to focus it." As the colony sprang into action, Dexter marveled at how far they'd come. From a group of terrified castaways to a functioning society on the brink of a new generation. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Zira's screams reached a crescendo as the first rays of Zeta 5's twin suns crept over the horizon. A new day was dawning, in more ways than one. The birth of Zira's child marked a turning point for the colony. As Dexter held the squirming, crimson-skinned infant, a mix of human and Betelgeusian features blending seamlessly, he felt a profound shift in his perspective. This wasn't just about survival anymore. They were building a future. Months passed. Lumina gave birth to her own child, a being of shimmering light that seemed to pulse in tune with Zeta 5's twin suns. The colony celebrated each new arrival, but challenges loomed on the horizon. Dexter wiped sweat from his brow, squinting at the angry red sky. The planet's climate had been growing increasingly hostile, with violent storms and temperature fluctuations that threatened their carefully cultivated crops. "We can't keep this up indefinitely," Niox said, her exoskeleton gleaming in the harsh light. "The environmental systems we've cobbled together from the ruins are barely holding." Dexter nodded grimly. "I know. We need a more permanent solution." He hesitated, then pressed on. "Or we need to find a way off this rock." The security chief's antenna twitched in surprise. "You want to leave? After all we've built here?" "Not want to, necessarily," Dexter clarified. "But we have to consider all options, for the sake of the children, if nothing else." They made their way back to the heart of the colony, now a sprawling complex of interconnected caves and surface structures. In the central chamber, Sylvia sat cross-legged, eyes closed in concentration as she interfaced with a piece of ancient technology they'd salvaged from the ruins. "Any progress?" Dexter asked softly, not wanting to break her focus. Sylvia's violet eyes fluttered open. "Some. I think I've deciphered part of the transmission protocols. If we can boost the power, we might be able to send a signal off-world." Excitement surged through Dexter, tempered by caution. "That's fantastic, but even if we can send a signal, who's to say anyone would hear it, or come for us if they did?" "We have to try," Niox insisted. "For the colony, for our future." Over the next weeks, Dexter threw himself into the project with renewed vigor. They cannibalized non-essential systems, rerouting power to the ancient transmitter. Every available hand pitched in, a sense of desperate hope permeating the colony. As they worked, Dexter couldn't help but notice the sidelong glances, the whispered conversations that stopped when he approached. Something was brewing among the colonists. Finally, as they neared completion of the signal device, Sylvia confronted him. "We need to talk, Dexter. All of us." He found himself facing a gathering of the entire colony. Zira stood at the forefront, her child cradled in her arms. Lumina's offspring floated nearby, a miniature star pulsing with curiosity. "What's going on?" Dexter asked, a knot forming in his stomach. Zira stepped forward. "We've been discussing our future. If this signal works, if rescue comes, what then?" Dexter blinked. I I assumed we'd all want to go home, back to civilization." A ripple of discontent passed through the crowd. Sylvia shook her head. "It's not that simple, Dexter. Look around you. We've built something here, something unique. Our children. They don't belong to any one world." The realization hit Dexter like a physical blow. Of course, the children were hybrids, products of a union that would never have occurred in normal space. How would they be received in the wider galaxy? "There's more," Niox added. "Thera, Olivia, and I. We're also with child. Your children." Dexter staggered, steadying himself against a nearby console. Five children from 5 different species. The implications were staggering. I I don't know what to say," he managed. "You don't have to say anything," Sylvia soothed. "We're not asking you to make a decision for all of us, but we needed you to understand the complexity of our situation before we activate that transmitter." Dexter nodded slowly. "You're right. This affects all of us. We'll make the decision together, as a colony, as a family." The word felt strange on his tongue, but undeniably right. Whatever came next, they would face it as one. The day they activated the signal transmitter dawned stormy and foreboding. Dexter stood with the others in the command center they'd cobbled together, tension thick in the air. "Ready?" he asked, looking to each face in turn. Nods of affirmation answered him. Dexter took a deep breath and flipped the switch. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then, with a surge of power that dimmed lights throughout the colony, the ancient device hummed to life. A beam of energy lanced into the turbulent sky, parting the clouds like a cosmic spear. "Now we wait," Sylvia murmured. They didn't have to wait long. Within hours, the proximity alarms they'd salvaged from the Starlight Dream's wreckage blared to life. Something was entering the atmosphere. "Battle stations," Niox barked, old instincts kicking in. The colonists scrambled to defensive positions, makeshift weapons at the ready. Dexter's heart raced as he peered through a view screen. A sleek craft, unlike anything he'd seen before, descended through the roiling clouds. It touched down with impossible grace just beyond the colony's perimeter. "Hold your fire," he ordered, though no one had made a move to attack. "Let's see what we're dealing with." A hatch on the vessel irised open. A figure emerged, humanoid but clearly not human. Its skin shimmered with an opalescent sheen, eyes like liquid silver surveying the scene. "Greetings," a melodious voice rang out, seeming to bypass their ears and resonate directly in their minds. "We received your distress call. We are here to help." Dexter stepped forward, heart pounding. "Who are you?" The being's silver eyes locked onto him. "We are the Guardians, watchers of the galactic fringe. We've been monitoring this sector since the fall of the Precursors." "The Precursors," Sylvia breathed. "The ones who built the ruins?" The Guardian nodded. "Indeed. Their civilization spanned galaxies, but they fell to their own hubris. We've spent millennia ensuring their technology doesn't fall into unprepared hands." Its gaze swept over the colony. "Though it seems some of it has found worthy inheritors." Dexter's mind reeled. "So? You're not here to rescue us?" "That depends," the Guardian replied, "on what you wish to be rescued from. We can return you to your homeworlds if that is your desire, or—" It paused, silver eyes twinkling. "We can offer you a choice." Over the next hours, the Guardian laid out a proposal that left the colonists stunned. There were other worlds, it explained. Planets seeded with precursor technology, waiting for the right inhabitants to claim them. The Guardians had been seeking worthy candidates to shepherd these worlds into a new age. "Your colony represents something unique," the Guardian said. "A blending of species and cultures we've not seen since the height of precursor civilization. You've proven your adaptability, your ingenuity. If you choose, We can take you to a world where you can build the future you've begun here." The colonists erupted in excited chatter. Dexter felt a swell of emotions threatening to overwhelm him. He raised a hand, calling for quiet. "This is more than we could have hoped for," he said carefully. "But it's not a decision we can make lightly. We need time to discuss, to consider all angles." The Guardian inclined its head. "Of course, we will await your decision." As the alien being retreated to its ship, Dexter turned to face his people, for they were his people now, he realized. The ties that bound them transcended mere circumstance. "Well," he said, a wry smile tugging at his lips, "looks like we have some thinking to do." The debate raged through the night. Some, like Zira, argued passionately for accepting the Guardian's offer. Others, including Niox, expressed skepticism, fearing it was too good to be true. Dexter listened to every voice, weighing each perspective carefully. As dawn broke, bathing the colony in the light of Zeta 5's twin suns one last time, a consensus emerged. They would go, together, to a new world, a fresh start, with the promise of their hard-won unity intact. The Guardian's ship was far larger than it had appeared, easily accommodating the entire colony and their meager possessions. As they lifted off, leaving behind the world that had been both prison and crucible, Dexter felt a pang of nostalgia. "Having second thoughts?" Sylvia asked, coming to stand beside him at a viewport. Dexter shook his head. "No, just reflecting on how much has changed, on how much we've all changed." Sylvia's hand found his, squeezing gently. "Change isn't always a bad thing." He turned to her, really looking at her for the first time in too long, the azure beauty who had been his confidant, his partner through it all. "No," he agreed softly, "it isn't." Their new home exceeded even the Guardian's descriptions, a verdant world of breathtaking beauty, dotted with precursor structures waiting to be explored and repurposed. The colonists set to work with enthusiasm, their experiences on Zeta 5 serving them well as they established a thriving settlement. Years passed in what felt like the blink of an eye. Dexter stood on a hilltop overlooking the colony. No, the city they'd built. Children of a dozen species played together in the streets, their laughter carried on a warm breeze. In the distance, the spires of a precursor archive stretched toward the sky, its secrets slowly yielding to their study. "Papa!" a voice called. Dexter turned to see his eldest, Zira's daughter, sprinting up the hill. Her crimson skin glistened in the sunlight, blue eyes, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "The council wants to see you. Something about a new deep space expedition." Dexter chuckled, ruffling her hair affectionately. All right, I'm coming." As they made their way back to the city, Dexter marveled at the path that had led him here. From a lonely engineer on a pleasure cruiser to the leader of a thriving interspecies civilization. He thought back to that fateful day when the Starlight Dream had crashed, wondered how his life might have unfolded if things had gone differently. But only for a moment. The laughter of his children, all of his children from Zira's fiery offspring to Lumina's luminous prodigy, called him back to the present, to the future they were building, together. It wasn't the life he'd imagined for himself all those years ago. It was better, far, far better.